Rwanda, home to incredible wildlife, stunning landscapes, and people working to save it all. Nearly a decade after our first journey to Africa, we go back to witness conservation wins, the threats still faced, and the people helping both the animals and communities thrive.
There is a lot of people on board really joining hands to do something big in Rwanda. Watch us, watch us.
They're all heroes, and wow, we couldn't be more proud.
From KPRC2 and the Houston Zoo, this is Saving Wildlife, Return to Rwanda.
Hello, I'm Keith Garvin.
And I'm Daniela Guzman, standing in the stunning Birds of the World habitat at the Houston Zoo.
Here you can visit the African savanna, the North American woodlands, and the South American wetlands all in one spot.
It's really fitting because while the Houston Zoo's conservation work spans the globe, the heart of it is here, where Houstonians are supporting the zoo's mission to save animals in the wild.
The Houston Zoo currently has more than 30 conservation projects, including multiple projects on the African continent. KPRC2's Andy Sirota first traveled there with the Houston Zoo in 2015.
And then in 2024, he returned to Rwanda to learn about the continued challenges and to spotlight the conservation wins.
From Houston to Washington, D.C., to Belgium and then Rwanda, we traveled with a team from the Houston Zoo and some very important equipment. In the capital city of Kigali, more than 8,000 miles from home, the equipment that would be used to set up the first wildlife veterinary clinic in Rwanda was handed over to some excited conservation partners. Over the course of the next week, the Houston Zoo's Rwandan partners would learn how to use the equipment both in the new clinic and in the field.
Having portable equipment is a game changer. They can do everything they need to do, x-ray, ultrasound, blood work, in the field where the animals are.
As the zoo team worked, we were lucky to go along for the ride in this beautiful country. One of the smallest countries in Africa, Rwanda is also one of the most densely populated and remarkably clean. The country hosts a national cleanup day monthly. Taking action to help the environment is part of the culture for many in this land of 1,000 hills.
In this world of conservation, the news can be really heavy. There are threats to wildlife from many angles, and we hear about it all the time. But sometimes we don't hear about what makes me so proud of this work in Rwanda and the work of our conservation partners is the success. Our mountain gorilla populations are growing. Our gray-crowned crane populations are growing. There's a rewilding and a regeneration of beautiful nature across the country in partnership with thriving human communities.
Ben Jones is the Houston Zoo's Vice President of Conservation and Education. He's on this journey with our production crew and two members of the Houston Zoo's veterinary team, Dr. Christine Moulter.
Looks like we have located the zebra.
And veterinary technician Jennifer Atkinson, who is now serving as hospital manager for the Houston Zoo. They were both in Rwanda for the first time.
This has just formed an even deeper connection for the work that we're doing. The partners that we work with, they're so excited that we're here, and it's so nice to be here with them on their home turf.
Traveling to Rwanda and having conservation partners visit Houston strengthens connections. That also goes for everyone who will come out to see the birds of the world and this African savanna aviary. Your admission ticket, membership, gift shop purchase, or donation support the zoo's conservation work. It's easy to make an impact while seeing fascinating animals like the vultures who have a carcass feeder installed in the habitat for them. Or a pair of beautiful gray-crowned cranes, which highlight a new conservation initiative started after KPRC's first trip to Rwanda.
Whether cruising along a smooth Rwandan highway or bumping down a rough dirt road, Dr. Olivier Nsengimana will be dancing in the driver's seat.
See me on a Friday on a dance floor.
The wildlife veterinarian finds joy in these mobile jam sessions, but Dr. Olivier doesn't have much downtime. He was a field veterinarian for the Gorilla Doctors prior to launching his own nonprofit organization in 2015.
there were only about 300 left in the country in the years 2012. And that really shocked me. And I thought to myself, like, hey, who's doing something to protect the cranes? And I thought to myself, maybe this is a chance for me to do something meaningful, something actually for a species I used to love. I can contribute to creating a legacy, like to making sure this species does not disappear in a country.
He founded the Rwanda Wildlife Conservation Association, or RWCA, in part to combat the illegal trade of the cranes in Rwanda. They were a symbol of wealth, and more were in captivity in the country than in the wild.
We started like telling Rwandans, hey, cranes are in danger, let's do something about it. So our ultimate goal was to stop the trade and remove all the captive cranes and introduce them back to their natural habitat. From actually 300 when we started, we've made the population to become over 1,200 in 8 years only.
Dr. Olivier's love of cranes began when he'd watched them fly and dance as a boy.
The one thing I love watching about the cranes is the dance, when they are dancing.
While it seems fitting the dancing wildlife doctor made it his mission to save the dancing birds, that's far from all he does, and he's not doing it alone.
Really, I was so lucky to find like some people who took on the mission. You've seen Dr. Deo. There are so many other people we started together at that time. And again, now we've grown to becoming over 210 staff.
A veterinarian by trade, Dr. Olivier has added medical staff to his team. Dr. Deo Ruagazi has been working with RWCA since the early days and is deputy director.
Well, we're all about community-based conservation, and that means locally led conservation. So our role is to support the people on the front lines doing the work, like Rwanda Wildlife Conservation Association right here.
Yes. More recently, additional veterinarians have been training to run RWCA's new clinic that the Houston Zoo has made possible.
Dr. Jessica is the only female wildlife and conservation veterinarian in the whole country. She is extremely caring, extremely smart. Dr. Pascal is super enthusiastic. He is eager and hungry to learn everything.
In the field, even more people are working with RWCA to save wildlife.
How often do the park rangers go out on patrol?
These marsh rangers, we call them marsh rangers, Rugezi marsh rangers. So they go every day.
Marsh rangers help monitor and count the birds in the 16,000-acre wetlands. They also report illegal activities that could impact the cranes.
We have now like 75 marsh rangers around Rugezi.
Roughly a third of them had previously been responsible for illegal activity impacting wildlife.
You said this was a dream job for you. Why?
He says like it's a dream job because like the very first time he saw people protecting the marsh, it was like a new thing open for him. In the beginning, he was actually one of the people who were taking the cranes out of the marsh, doing illegal activities, and it was his dream to become part of the team that protect, not destroy. Our great crown cranes, let's protect them. That's what it means.
When you look around this land, what's the one emotion that you feel?
This really makes us so happy when herself can see cranes increasing, but also when community members come to her and say, cranes have increased. So she feels really like actually she's done something.
When some locals unknowingly were harming cranes by letting their cows graze in areas where the birds might nest, RWCA came up with a solution that benefited both the cranes and the people. They replanted the land with native trees and built a structure nearby where the cows and the hay they needed could be kept. The move also gave the villagers an easy way to harvest manure for income. When one man's cow died, RWCA used Houston Zoo funds to help him get a new one, knowing the positive impact would trickle down.
Says thanks to Houston Zoo.
This one?
Yeah, that's his cow. Wildlife can thrive and people can benefit.
RWCA has looked for other ways to improve the lives of nearby villagers.
Our dream is actually to put rainwater harvesting system
to every single house here in this village.
And they've provided training for women in the region to bring in income through a sewing cooperative.
You see, they just made these dresses today. Are you serious?
While Dr. Olivier puts his trust in RWCA's team, he is grateful the Houston Zoo entrusted him to save wildlife in Rwanda.
And the Houston Zoo came with it's like just a full package, and everything became possible. From empowerment, trust, financial support, it felt like just, yes, this is the partner we needed. And we felt like we belong with the Houston Zoo, and we are saving wildlife together.
Dr. Olivier is a hero, a conservation hero to us at Houston Zoo. He's so brilliant. He's got an incredible work ethic. He's just got the most incredible people skills. So we are thrilled with this partnership, and he's a leader that we can all follow.
From new partners like RWCA to existing partners like Gorilla Doctors, the Houston Zoo helps with financial guidance, veterinary expertise, technical support, and anything needed to make sure the organizations can reach their goal. For the Gorilla Doctors, that included making sure they had a permanent home for their important work.
For the Gorilla Doctors, the forest is their hospital. They care for animals in the wild, conducting health checks on gorilla families, administering antibiotics if an animal is sick, or sedatives if they have to remove a snare. And while that work continues daily, they now have a place where they can do even more with gorilla medicine. It's good to see you, my friend. 9 years ago, when I first met Dr. Jean Bosco Noelli, he was already a seasoned wildlife veterinarian. Since then, he's expanded his work with the Gorilla Doctors.
He just got back from 10 months in the United States where he trained to be our veterinary pathologist, which is incredible.
It's going to help make their work so much more efficient because of what he's invested and the leader that he's become. He's also one of our conservation heroes at the Houston Zoo and a wildlife warrior.
Dr. Noelli, along with Gorilla Doctors Executive Director and Chief Veterinary Officer, Dr. Kirsten Gilardi, gave us a tour of their impressive new campus, which sits about 30 minutes from Volcanoes National Park.
We're walking into our main building. This whole regional headquarters was officially opened in March 2022. So this is the place where we welcome guests who want to come and learn more about Gorilla Doctors. I wanted to point out to you here that we have a picture of Ben Jones, who's the Vice President of Conservation and Education at the Houston Zoo. He's our newest board member.
This is dramatically different from what I saw 9 years ago.
You were here 9 years ago. We were renting a building just a little bit down the hill from here, and we had the opportunity to purchase property for the first time, and it was the Houston Zoo that came through for us. This is my favorite part of this whole place. We just want to make sure that anybody who comes here realizes that we don't operate just here in Rwanda. We have a team in Uganda and a team in the Democratic Republic of Congo, too.
The Gorilla Doctors is a collaboration between Rwanda's Mountain Gorilla Veterinary Project and the University of California, Davis Wildlife Health Center.
Well, my greatest fear is infectious disease. Gorillas are so closely related to us as humans that they're very susceptible to many of the pathogens that make us sick.
Gorillas share 98% of the same DNA as humans, which is why medical care is key to their survival. While the headquarters building opened in 2022, a dedication was held for the Gorilla Doctors' new laboratory days before our arrival in 2024.
One Health Laboratory, it's a very special place because it's named after a very special doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Mike Confield has been instrumental to this organization. So we decided to dedicate this laboratory because he was a pioneer of One Health.
The One Health perspective is a belief that the health of one species is linked to the entire ecosystem.
This is a quote from Dr. Mike from our last special 9 years ago.
They basically are our cousins, and if we as humans can't put the effort into saving animals that are that closely related to us, it doesn't bode well for us or the other animals that aren't
as closely related to us.
That's Mike right there. He's absolutely right.
This laboratory is helping gorilla doctors save the great apes. Instead of being sent abroad, blood, fecal, and urine samples can be brought to this site for basic diagnostics like blood chemistry and liver function.
Here we can do parasitology. We come look at the eggs and see the morphology and try to make diagnostic.
If more information is needed, the samples move through the building.
Bacteriology means that we'll be culturing bacteria to see what type of bacteria are responsible for the infection.
Each room providing a spot for deeper analysis.
We count the growth.
The process continues until they determine if a specific disease is present in the sample.
And then you move to amplification room. When you took tissue from the animal, you process it to the point that you get to the slide.
The pathology work means they know how to precisely treat each illness.
So we look forward to more amazing results and being able to respond to any clinical cases within time.
What role does the Houston Zoo play in supporting the work that's done in this lab?
So what the Houston Zoo has done was just laying foundation for us, because we never had a home before. But now we had a home, and when you have a home, that's when you start planning for other cool stuff.
Gorilla doctors like Dr. Noeli, who are from the region, make the work sustainable. Partners like the Houston Zoo help the One Health mission grow even more.
I don't know if you noticed when you came in, but we've planted a special garden in memory of one of our Houston Zoo partners and friends.
Peter Rieger.
Peter Rieger. He was instrumental in us being able to acquire this place to serve as a regional headquarters, so we wanted to honor him.
The garden was newly planted when we were there. A tree trunk left after a storm was carved to become the centerpiece.
It really signifies both our commitment to our mission, but also the fact that because it's placed here in a memorial garden, it just recognizes that we can't do our work without so many people.
If Dr. Mike and Peter Rieger were both here today and saw all of this, what would they say?
I hope that they would have huge smiles on their face and be amazed at what we've been able to accomplish over the last several years, to know that they were incredibly important players in that progress and that growth. I think they would be thrilled.
We are almost there. You see the truckers over there?
Still ahead, a trek up a rainy mountain to find a rare set of gorilla twins. Plus,
a special tour to learn the many ways the longest running gorilla conservation group in the world is saving the great apes.
First, you can help by recycling old cell phones. Some electronics contain a mineral called tantalum that's mined in areas where gorillas live.
Recycling old devices means less new tantalum is needed. Look for more easy ways you can save animals in the wild on click2houston.com/conservation. For the past several years, KPRC2 has covered conservation efforts the Houston Zoo supports all over the world.
We've shown you all the work being done to save giant tortoises in the Galapagos Islands, giant armadillos and jaguars in the Pantanal in Brazil, pygmy elephants and orangutans in the jungles of Borneo, and lemurs in Madagascar.
And closer to home, we've witnessed progress being made to protect whooping cranes and Houston toads. But as we mentioned, our Saving Wildlife series began in Rwanda in 2015.
The gorillas are curious creatures. Right back there, sitting against the bamboo, is the adult silverback male. He's the leader of the pack, the head of his family.
The silverback's name is Munyinya. His group was dubbed Hirwa, or Lucky, in part because of his story. Munyinya traveled a long distance on his own to create his own gorilla family here on the slopes of the national park.
On that gorilla trek 9 years ago, Andy Sirota learned the Hirwa family included a rare set of gorilla twins.
And upon his return to Rwanda, he set out to see how the Hirwa family was doing and to see if the twins were still together.
At the base of Volcanoes National Park in the Virunga Mountains, we gathered to meet the guide who would lead us back to the Hirwa group.
Good morning, everybody.
Mountain gorillas only live in 3 countries in the world: Rwanda, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Volcanoes National Park sits where those countries meet and the gorilla families move freely across the borders.
Now we have 21 that we are monitoring every day. Bravo.
The families they track include the Hirwa, or Lucky Group, which we first saw in 2015. The Hirwa family unfortunately encountered bad luck years later in Uganda. Muninya died of a respiratory infection. And then in 2020, a lightning strike killed 5 more members of the family. Muninya's son brought the family back to Rwanda, where our guide says their numbers have once again grown.
So this is a group composed of 17 members, 7 females, 4 babies, 3 juveniles, and they say 3 silverbacks.
Trackers follow the families daily and record where they make their nest for the night. And so on this day, that's how we knew we would need to drive before we could start our walk. 30 minutes later, we found ourselves parking in a village where porters were lined up to help. Depending on where the gorillas are, treks can take hours. Porters make the journey possible for tourists and the occasional TV crew. We walked past fields, farmers, livestock, and even spotted a pair of golden monkeys enjoying a snack before crossing into the national park. Along the way, we learned not only about what we'd see, but also what we might hear when we got to the gorillas.
Means back off. Means go away. Okay. Keep on.
Let's back off.
Okay.
The gorillas are primarily playful and not bothered by people visiting. Our guide knows the animals. He grew up in this village, so he also knows the people and the land.
The stinging nettles.
He warned us to avoid the stinging nettles plant and told us why our trackers were armed.
That's why you saw a tracker with a gun. In the case forest buffalo, if they are charging, we shoot for scaring, not for killing.
We weren't setting out to find forest buffalo, but if one found us, a shot could be fired to scare it away.
What is it?
This is
incredible.
Eucalyptus.
We learned while eucalyptus isn't native, the gorillas like it, and at times will come out of the park to eat it.
They don't eat the leaves, they just eat the stems?
They peel the bark, they take the bark off. See? After peeling the bark, they use the teeth, scratching. You see? This is the sap they're looking for.
What type of nutrients does it give them?
This is minerals, especially sodium they get from.
More hiking, and then another reminder to keep our distance around the gorillas.
And then remember I said, means no problem. When it says, means go away. You can find the babies and some of the females, they do for fun, but for the silverback, he gives us a preliminary sound. Which is no runaway.
Farther up the muddy mountain and through dense brush, we finally were close.
Okay, we are almost there. You see the trackers over there, just where they spot the gorillas. We are not far from the grass, they are behind them. This is where we're going to prepare ourselves. We put on the masks, we leave the sticks and our backpacks and take our cameras. Then we go to meet our gorillas.
We're not far from the gorillas now. We had to stop here in this clearing and put on these masks because, as we've heard before, gorillas are susceptible to the same types of viruses that we contract.
Just on the other side of some tall vegetation, we spotted our first gorillas. Huddled up, grooming, not concerned at all by us or our cameras.
Yes, they don't care.
You can see the silverback and the rest of the family behind me. So this is as close as we're going to get. Anytime the silverback looks back in our direction, the guide essentially talks to him and lets him know that everything's okay.
When he reacts, he vocalizes.
A gorilla trek permit allows you to spend 1 hour with the animals. So while we were entranced by the first gorillas we saw, we set off to find the twins. It took teamwork to get over the terrain. Fortunately, they were not far from the rest of their family group. Our guide said they've recorded only 12 cases of mountain gorilla twins, and only 3 survived, including the Hirwa twins, who were born in early 2011 and observed by gorilla doctors starting at just 1 day old. By 8 weeks old, Mom Kabatwa and the twins were eating well and keeping up with the troop, which can travel several miles daily. At 7 months old, the babies and Mom were still active. The twins had just turned 4 when we were in Rwanda in 2015. In 2024, they remarkably were still together.
Well, the twins are so special. There are very few that survived. So the way they stick together, it's so curious in terms of population dynamics.
Mountain gorillas are the only gorilla species to have more than one silverback in a family. Only one is the leader, though, so the twins may eventually leave to start their own families.
Is there a way to predict when they may separate and go out on their own?
Well, if I predict anything, I think I'll be wrong. When you come again next 9 years, you might find me wrong. So it's unpredictable what will happen.
In total, we were lucky and saw 11 members of the Hirwa family.
Are they in good health?
Super, yes. Generally, the group is doing well. There's one juvenile that we saw there that has a cut, that has a wound on the back. And looking at the wound is healing well.
Every time that you come up here and you see them, what goes through your mind?
What goes through my mind is it's how much you've achieved so far, because this requires daily monitoring with these trackers. This requires veterinarians and researchers to be coming together. We've come far, we made a progress, and we have a reason to keep doing this.
Gorilla tourism is an important source of income for locals in Rwanda, but that's just a small part of why so many people are working to save the great apes. At the Houston Zoo, families can see 8 western lowland gorillas. Thanks to Houstonians who visit the gorillas here, the Houston Zoo is able to support multiple conservation projects focused on gorillas, including the Fossey Gorilla Fund, which is helping save gorillas and empowering women in conservation.
When renowned conservationist Dian Fossey began studying mountain gorillas in the 1960s in Africa, the situation for the species was dire. There were only 250 animals estimated left in Rwanda. Despite her death in 1985, her work continues.
We are the world's longest running and largest organization dedicated to gorilla conservation and research. And the amazing thing is when Dian Fossey came here in 1967, she thought that mountain gorillas would be extinct before the year 2000. And instead, they are the only great ape on the planet, other than us, that's increasing. So it is an amazing conservation success story.
Dr. Tara Stawinski and her team are leading the next chapter of the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund.
I think it's really incumbent upon us to make sure that they have a future alongside us.
While much of the work done to ensure their future is done in the forest, the organization now has a state-of-the-art education and research facility to help. The Ellen DeGeneres campus of the Dian Fossey Fund opened in 2022.
2 years, close to 60,000 guests.
Yes.
Your face lights up.
Yes.
That's a huge success.
Yeah, huge success.
Stawinski, who is the president, CEO, and chief scientific officer of the organization, gave us a tour, starting with the Cindy Broder Conservation Gallery, which includes tributes to Fossey.
And this is a recreation of her cabin that she lived in. A lot of these are her original artifacts. These are her original field clothes that she wore, her luggage, her original desk. I love that, like, while we might have pictures of our family members around the house, she had pictures of gorillas.
They were her family.
They were her family, 100%.
Fossey built a bond with the animals. Her work helped us understand the similarities between gorillas and humans go beyond DNA and skeletal structure.
Like us, they take care of their most vulnerable, they form lifelong relationships, and they even mourn the loss of a family member. And that's a lot of what this part of the exhibit does, is it tells the stories of these gorillas that we have observed literally every single day of their lives. These 4 gorillas that you see here were orphans, so they all lost their moms. This is actually a distant uncle who adopted them. And one day, one of the young gorillas got caught in a snare. Our trackers, who are there every single day, they saw it. We contacted our colleagues, the gorilla doctors, who were able to remove the snare. This photo was taken about 3 weeks later. What you can't see here is there's a river, and the family was crossing the river. And this female fascia held back, I think because her foot was still injured. And so this is her sister, Ichiro, who waited for her at the side of the river, holding out her hand to encourage her. And when fascia got across, embraced her in this big, enormous hug. And when you pull back, you see that her entire family was waiting for her as well.
They didn't want to leave her behind.
They didn't want to leave her behind. The support, the encouragement, the reassurance that was given in this very human-like gesture, but obviously that we share with gorillas.
While the conservation partners collaborate to protect the gorillas, they have also witnessed examples of the gorillas returning the favor, like this story of a large silverback.
We saw one day that every time a young gorilla approached him, he did this vocalization we call a pig run. It sounds like, and it's a warning vocalization. And he did this each and every time a kid approached him, a young gorilla approached him. So our researcher went to see, like, what's happening here? And as she got closer, he did the same thing to her. So she said, well, maybe he doesn't feel well, I'm gonna back away. And when the group moved on and she went to follow them, she saw that he had been sitting next to a snare that had been set for antelope. And so by doing that vocalization, he had protected every one of those young gorillas who wouldn't necessarily recognize the snare from coming near it. But what really moved her, and it still gives me goosebumps every time I tell the story, is that she also felt that he was keeping her safe from that snare. He treated her the same way he treated his own offspring. And that's what makes gorillas so special.
Special and very much at risk.
The gorillas that you would see at the Houston Zoo are from West Africa, so you can see they've got quite a large area still. The western lowland gorillas, and we estimate there's probably 250 to 300,000 of them left.
The mountain gorillas are in a much smaller area.
This is the space for the mountain gorillas. This is the one we're at here in Rwanda, and then the other one in Uganda. And then these are Grauer's gorillas, which we also protect, that are only found in eastern Congo.
Another map gives you a look through time at gorilla families, movement, and growth.
And these are GPS points, so every day we go out, and when we see the gorillas, we record where they are.
Families grew and split, but as they competed for space, the growth rate again slowed.
So it's one of the challenges of the conservation success of having more gorillas, but not having necessarily more space in which they can live.
So how do you deal with that now?
The government of Rwanda is looking at expanding the park and bringing some of what used to be park and is now farmland back in so that the gorillas have more room.
The daily protection of the gorillas is one of 4 pillars of the Fossey Fund. The others involve the science needed to create conservation strategies, training future conservation leaders, and helping nearby communities with things they need like education, jobs, and food and water.
Our motto is helping people, saving gorillas, because ultimately we know that for gorillas to thrive, people must thrive as well.
The newly built campus that's now the hub for their work is 12 acres and includes 250,000 native plants. They're growing a living outdoor classroom for future researchers.
In 20 years, this will be in a forest. This is the Sandy and Harold Price Research Center. So this is where our labs are based. Welcome to the Poop Lab.
The Poop Lab?
The Poop Lab. We love gorilla poop. It is a great way for us to study a lot of what's happening inside the gorillas. So obviously we're there.
Field teams collect the samples, then the scientists analyze them for everything from hormone levels, which can determine stress levels, to genetics, which can help confirm the gorilla's family tree.
It's because there are multiple males living in a group, we can't assume that the dominant male is the father of the offspring. So we do genetic analyses to see who the dad is, and they have surprised us. There's a lot going on in gorilla society that we can't necessarily see just with our naked eye by studying their behavior.
And it's all in the poop?
All in the poop. So the lab we're going into right now is what we call the Mountain Gorilla Skeletal Project. It's the largest collection of mountain gorilla skeletons in the world that's housed here. And so this is a collaborative project that we do with the Rwandan government, as well as our partners, the gorilla doctors and the National Museums of Rwanda. So all of us work on curating this collection together.
And which is fairly common with a lot of the work that's done with conservation.
Yeah, I mean, conservation, the challenges that we are facing are so large that we need to be working together.
160 mountain gorilla skeletons are part of the program in Rwanda. 20 more are in Uganda.
What's really unique about this is that these are individual gorillas that we have known and watched for their entire lives.
So there is still so much to be learned about them even after they're gone.
100%. And so we're now at the Robin Melanie Walton Education Center. So we have in this building a series of classrooms, a library, a computer lab. This is where a lot of the actual classroom activity is.
It's where students from all over, including Rwanda, come to learn.
How did you realize that you wanted to work with mountain gorillas?
When we were shown the movie Gorilla in the Mist, and I saw Dan Fossey work, like being in the forest, a woman being in the forest, working with gorillas, it reflected for me resilience and independence that I wanted to have. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to be like her, do what she did, and even better, bring more women to do what she has been doing.
Nadia Niyonize learned about the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund through the organization's partnership with the University of Rwanda, where she was a student. In 2017, she gained an internship and worked in different departments.
The part that I loved the most was the poop lab, which is where I had no idea we could learn so much from poops.
A year later, she got a job as a research assistant. She learned how to measure the size of living gorillas in the field and became fascinated with what they could learn from deceased gorilla bones back in the lab. When COVID hit, she says she began reflecting on how few women there were like her.
When I started in 2018, we were only 3 Rwandese women researchers working with gorillas.
Only 3?
Only 3. And in 2020, I was like, maybe I should work on this. I need to start telling how I like my job, how gorillas are fascinating, and then try to inspire girls to actually join the conservation work. We are currently now 9 women doing the research work, so I want that number to exponentially grow.
Nadia is now a project coordinator for Girls in Conservation, a program created by the Dian Fossey Gorilla Fund in 2023. The program involves mentorship, scholarships, and guidance to help girls build their own conservation career paths.
I'm very happy about the impact that we've had so far.
I am incredibly proud of our team here, and Nadia is a great example of that.
Back inside the conservation gallery, people from many different backgrounds are honored on the wall for their work. Several gorillas are also celebrated.
We call this the Hall of Fame. These are 7 of the sort of most iconic gorillas that we've studied over 55 years. And you can actually take a personality quiz to figure out the one that you are most like.
It's a nice day, you're outdoors enjoying nature. What would you most likely be doing? So I'm going to say hiking, running, and biking. See yourself as a role model, teacher, protector, explorer, peacemaker. I'm going with explorer. Okay, so I'm most like Machabiri.
She is here at the end. She was named in honor of Dian Fossey to mark the 50th anniversary of our work. She is now about 8 and just a young, fun, energetic gorilla. So sounds perfect.
Young, fun, and energetic.
Perfect.
Listen, I'll take that.
Another fun feature for visitors, making gorilla noises.
For kids. And one of my favorites is this one over here. This is Gorilla Chat. So learning to talk like a gorilla. So we picked 5 iconic gorilla vocalizations. And so you can hear them. This is the chest beat.
Right.
All right. And then you have the opportunity to try and do it yourself. I'll try it.
Good job.
Good job. It's hard for us to do too because the males have these big air sacs that make that resonate. That doesn't happen with humans.
While tourists coming to Rwanda to learn about gorillas brings in money for locals, The Diane Fossey Gorilla Fund relies strictly on charitable dollars to do its work, including support from Houston.
Yes, I'm very grateful to the support of the Houston Zoo.
The Houston Zoo is a wonderful supporter of our work. So they give us unrestricted dollars that we can use to spend on these critical programs that are working to save the gorillas. And they also provide leadership. They serve on our board of directors. And so the Houston Zoo and other zoos in the U.S. that support us, they are a critical part of that village through their financial support, their expertise in nonprofit management and leadership. It's a key piece of why we are successful.
There are folks in Houston who are going to see this, and truth be told, they may never get the chance to come to Rwanda. So what is your message to them?
My message to them is that everyone has a role to play in conservation. It's not just those of us on the ground doing the work, but whether you're a supporter of the Houston Zoo, whether you learn more about gorillas and help spread the word that they're at risk, everyone has a role to play, whether you're here in Rwanda doing the work or whether you're in Houston or somewhere else.
Still ahead.
Here we are outside of the Akagera National Park, and we've identified where the zebras are, and we're just getting our darts ready with our anesthetic medications to go and remove them from the field.
Have you done something like this before?
I've done a lot of procedures on a lot of different types of animals, including zebras, but nothing quite like this.
First, more than 1 billion birds fly over the Houston area during migration season. You can make their journey safer by simply turning off outdoor lights. Stick around for more ways you can save animals in the wild.
Here at the Houston Zoo's Birds of the World, we have made our way inside of the South American Wetlands Aviary. It's an immersive experience for zoo guests.
In this beautiful aviary, you will see Chilean flamingos, roseate spoonbills, and other water birds. And what's really cool is the space was built around a registered historic tree sculpture created by an artist in 1926.
While guests enjoy walking through the aviary, what they won't see is the investment the zoo made in building an avian conservation environment building behind the scenes, which gives them greater capacity to care for and breed birds, including some critically endangered species. The expertise the Houston Zoo team brings to animal care every day is immensely valuable, not just here in Houston, but to conservation partners abroad.
That's why the veterinary team that traveled with Andy were called on to do some field training in one of the most exotic parts of Rwanda.
In one of the oldest parks in all of Africa, wildlife runs free. Akagera National Park in Rwanda was founded in 1934 and has become a place where tourists can see many of the continent's most iconic animals.
How many different types of birds are in the park?
We have more than 500 species of birds. We are going to drive.
Our park guide showed us a river forms a border between the park and the country of Tanzania. On the other side,
in 2013, they fenced the park. I can see some animals over there.
A fence was put on the park's western edge to protect the animals and keep people who may want to harm them out.
The buffaloes are grazers.
The stunning park covers nearly 277,000 acres, but it's half the size of what it used to be. Parkland was converted to farmland and villages when refugees who needed a place to live returned to the country after the 1994 Rwandan genocide. When the fence went in to reduce human-wildlife conflict just over a decade ago, some animals were left on the outside of the park.
We are getting close to the park. So this village, as you see, there is a lot of agriculture going on.
You have these zebras out on farmland that are grazing on pastures that are for the farmers' cattle. And by coming out here and doing this type of field work, we are keeping these animals from being poached, from being caught in snares and injured, so that we can help the farmers and help the animals and get them into a protected park in Akagera National Park and make sure that they can thrive. So every single animal that we relocate, that's one more animal saved.
Do you know how many are out?
Last time we were here for an assessment, last week, we counted 12. Community member was saying 17, so the number is not really fixed.
To help the people and protect the animals, the Rwanda Wildlife Conservation Association was called on to help move the zebra back into the park.
So we are at this point here, at the north part of the park.
After some brief introductions, Dr. Olivier explained another mission for the day, involved the Houston Zoo team and the portable medical equipment they brought with them.
This week is actually for the training, but we thought we'd use this opportunity to train in the field as well. So yeah, we'll be with them.
We have 2 teams.
Okay, so we get in touch. Everyone, let's get together. Everyone, we are going to drive a little bit, meet someone who works in a park. They have their own motor, so they will lead us through that road. We cannot cross here. It's muddy. We're going to get muddy anyway.
What do you think some of the challenges are going to be?
I think terrain is going to be a big challenge. The ground is really wet. It's very uneven, so actually getting close enough to access the animals is going to be a challenge.
So we are taking that road, and we are following it to get closer to the zebras there. We saw them on that side of the marsh.
It's going to be bumpy, it's going to be muddy, and it's going to be wet. So we just have to hang tight in our truck and get as close as we can to make a safe dart to the animals so that we can immobilize them quickly and safely.
And even when you do dart the zebra, it's not instantaneous.
Correct. That is a myth. When you dart an animal, it's not instant. It's fast, less than 5 minutes with the drugs that we're using today, but it's not instant.
At the trucks, the medical staff prepared the equipment, including the darts needed to sedate the zebra. The medication is powerful, so they proceed with caution and follow strict protocol.
They're using super potent opioids. When you are anesthetizing really large animals, you have to use really potent drugs. And these drugs, because we're using them for an animal that's about 300 kilograms, are going to be way too strong for a human. So if we were exposed, that could be a fatal dose. So we have to talk about safety.
Oh, good.
It takes much more than the veterinary team to pull off a wildlife intervention on this scale.
We are part of the support team for the darting operation. We are the manpower that will come in once the animal has been darted and gone down to support the removal of that animal from there and getting it into the crate.
Once all the gear is ready, they turn their attention to finding the driest and safest route to the animals.
And they're going to be darted from that side, so the hope is that they will move in this direction, and then we will be close to them here where we can then get to them as fast as possible.
I think we are going to walk down, and everyone stay behind the hedges. So that we don't scare them.
Doctors Olivier and Dale set out ahead of our group with the dart guns.
That is him, and Olivier is calling me to tell me. Yes?
Olivier darted the zebra, and then David just ran out with a blindfold, so you can see that she's this one. So she's showing classic signs of anesthesia taking effect here. She's high-stepping, her head is up, she's away from the group. She's acting like she doesn't really perceive everything around her. She's getting wobbly, and you can see that pink dart in her right hip. So isolated from the group, which is good. She didn't go very far. That's also good. So less than 5 minutes, she should be down.
Animal is down, please. We have to go.
The animal is down?
Yeah.
So
We're working our way out to the darted zebra. You can see teams running in all directions to help. Time is of the essence.
Whoa.
Digital pulses are really good.
Yes.
Feet are in excellent condition.
So how many minutes has it been?
Yeah, sure, 8. 9 minutes. It's not 9 minutes.
Okay, your
So-
antibiotics are in.
Animal ID, RW.
Animal ID, who is coding?
RW 02 80 72 5.
Pascal has a timer.
It seemed so seamless from my perspective as an outsider.
Yeah, that's great to hear that it seems so seamless because it can feel very chaotic. So we're glad that it looks seamless. But essentially you have a team that goes into monitor anesthesia. When you have an animal go down under anesthesia, you want to make sure that they are okay before you start anything else. So we have somebody going in, we're checking heart rates, checking respiratory rates, feeling pulses. That's where if you saw my hand underneath the jaw, there's a pulse right underneath the jaw there. So I'm keeping my hand so I know their heart rate is good the whole time. We use some new anesthetic monitoring equipment that is new to the team. That this is the first time that we've used it in the field, which is really exciting. It worked great, so we'll keep using it throughout the day to get everybody comfortable.
You can see everything is happening here all at once. The entire team has to work together. Every second counts.
Guys, you have 2 minutes to try, yeah?
He just got blood from the facial sinus.
You got it?
Look at that.
That's good. Let's start loading the animal.
After getting the first zebra into a vehicle for transport, the team immediately set their sights on darting another one.
As a zoo vet tech, we do everything. It's a specialty field, and so we do anything a nurse does. So we do phlebotomy, we place catheters, we monitor anesthesia, we are part of like the intubation and all of those anesthetic skills. And then we also do sample collection. We are still finding out if that animal has been darted. Because of how quickly we're moving, it looks like we probably did inject that animal, and we have to get our equipment to them as fast as we can.
On the second zebra, they trained on the portable X-ray and ultrasound equipment.
SpO2 is 77%, and the ear heart rate is 51. Yep. Okay. All right, 6 feet back, everyone. If you could step back 1 step and hold it out more in front of you. Yeah. Just hold down, it'll beep. Yeah. Great. Okay. Yep, so get set. You're going to take another X-ray. Okay, so just hold. I'll kind of guide it. So.
Quick.
Right. Yep. I'm just going to stay here. It's good. Okay, shooting. Okay. Okay, 80% SpO2. Let's get a heart rate.
After the health checks, the team began the tough task of moving this zebra across the marshland.
There's water everywhere. There's no way around. It's true. 2, 3,
The clock was ticking as the team loaded the zebra onto a truck. Inside Akagera National Park, the large boxes carrying the zebra are hoisted and carefully transferred into the boma, where the animals are released. The zebras are kept in quarantine until they're cleared to release into the park. 2 successful sedations, transports, and releases, but the team would go and do it again the next day, this time with a GoPro camera in the hands and on the head of Dr. Christine.
Hello, I'm getting the camera set up. I'm gonna put it on my head now. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna test the needles. So these are the reversals for the drug when we're ready to wake the animal up. And this is Pascal, Dr. Pascal. He is checking the dart gun and the equipment and all of the sampling supplies.
Would you like to dart?
Do I want to dart?
Today, yeah.
Maybe. I'm probably not a very good stalker.
Yeah, you have to stalk them.
Yeah, I can give it my best shot. I'm gonna dart him, Deo. They're making me wear this too. Yeah. So watch what you say, because it's all gonna be on camera. So now what we're doing is we're charging the dart. So now that the dart is charged, just putting it into the barrel. We don't have any CO2 in the projector yet. We'll do that once we figure out what distance we're going to be at. We're just going to be ready to go.
They spotted us as soon as we came down, and they've been watching us. So.
All right, so everybody, Dr. Olivier and I are walking through the field. The zebras are along the fence line. There's a group of 3 that we're going to try to get close to, have the element of surprise on our side. Want me to try?
A dart fired, but it didn't stick, and the zebras took off.
It didn't stay in. No, I think it hit and bounced. So we're just loading up another dart here. These guys are just so fast and so smart. They know what's up. It's hard to get close. The closer you are, the easier it is to take an accurate shot.
And with that, the camera battery died just before they came up with a solution to get closer to the zebra.
So they called a local guy with a motorcycle, a moto, came over and he's like, get on. I was like, all right, I'm going to get on this motorcycle. So we're in the mud on the motorcycle. The zebras are running, so we're going next to them. We've got the double barrel rifle with the dart inside, ready to go, charged, and I'm like tapping him on the shoulders, like, stop, no, right, left, this way. And then the zebra ran like sort of where the cows were. And then the zebra's like, oh, these cows. And I'm like, oh, that's the moment. And I was able to get him. So thank you to the cows for blocking his way.
How do you quantify the last 2 days of doing this, if you had to describe it?
Yeah, it's a really incredible feeling. This team does highly technical, highly skilled, very difficult terrain to manage type of work, and they do it very well. So it's incredible to see conservation in action. And at the Houston Zoo, our motto is saving animals in the wild. And this feels like we're literally saving animals in the wild, one zebra at a time.
How'd it go today?
It was good. A little bit challenging.
Yeah.
We ended up getting 2, and it's really good to see them going into this step closer to the park. This boma where they are now under quarantine, we're going to observe them and test for disease, and whenever we know it's safe to release them, we let them go into this wider area where they'll be free and happy. Yes, there are lions around. If you are joining, come closer.
Before leaving, Dr. Olivier walked around the edge of the boma, trying to get a view of the zebra inside before we left for the night.
So yeah, this is quite a big boma with long grass and tall trees. So we've released the zebra here. So I'm trying to sight them to see how they're doing before we leave.
Hey, how do you feel about today?
Yeah, I'm really feel good. Like I'm really happy that we able to move like 4 zebras to now in the park. I'm really happy for that. At the first time they used to call other people from outside, and I'm now happy that Rwandans are able to move like animals from outside the park and then get them here and safe. We have now ultrasound, X-ray. We just need to be able to use them, and then we do a great job more.
Still ahead.
This is incredible.
How a sanctuary for cranes rescued from captivity is also helping birds in the wild. Plus,
this is Motisi. She's a gray-crowned crane, one of the most beautiful exotic birds in all of Africa. And she's about to be examined.
I almost always start with the head of the animal.
But first, wake up with bird-friendly coffee grown by farmers committed to preserving bird habitats. You can learn more and also find bird-saving crafts you can do with your family on click2houston.com/conservation.
it is so much fun to come to the Houston Zoo and see the children's faces light up when they see all of the unique animals.
The Houston Zoo further feeds that excitement with camps and a special program for teens called Zoo Crew. Over the summer, the Zoo Crew traveled to Rwanda where they saw conservation in action through a gorilla trek and a trip to the Rugezi Marsh. And just like Andy Sirota, they also paid a visit to a special place that's home to dozens of rescued gray-crowned cranes.
Less than 12 miles from Rwanda's busy capital of Kigali, dozens of gray-crowned cranes saved from the illegal pet trade have been given a new home.
It's a nature reserve and a sanctuary for the gray-crowned cranes that rescued from captivity.
Umusambi Village was created in partnership with the Rwanda Wildlife Conservation Association as a sanctuary for cranes that were injured and unable to be released into the wild.
Hello.
Greeting us there was head guide and botanist Winnie Kiyomujara. She began her talk on the efforts to save all gray-crowned cranes across Rwanda.
Every year we do census to see if the population is increasing or not. We started doing census in 2017. By then, we had like less than 500 cranes in the country. By report of last year, 2023, we had 1,216. So the population doubled, and we are really happy for that.
At Umusambi, which means gray-crowned crane in the language of Kinyarwanda, the crane count has grown from 50 to 70, with free-range cranes flying in to enjoy the nearly 52-acre nature reserve with the rescued animals. The protected area opened in 2020 and since then has become a place where locals and tourists can come to relax while learning about the cranes and conservation of all species.
You see that this is a home for not only cranes, but also other birds and other wildlife.
Here, they focus on every aspect of a healthy environment, including butterflies.
Butterflies are very sensitive to environmental change.
Just like at the Houston Zoo's pollinator gardens, in the butterfly house at Umusambi, guests can learn about the importance of the insects to pollination and keeping things growing.
Conservation of butterfly.
Growth, which is necessary to provide a thriving habitat for all of Rwanda's animals.
Tell me about this nursery.
We do grow only indigenous trees here.
Native trees are being grown from seeds in reusable containers or pods.
We can use it up to 10 years using a single seed pot.
These native plants are planted in these pots that are the exact shape of the dibble stick or shovel type device that you push down into the ground, and it creates a hole that's shaped exactly like this, so that's so efficient.
The program successfully produces 25,000 trees annually, including 30 different types of native trees.
How is this nursery connected to the Rugezi wetlands?
So we use the trees that we produce from here to restore the islands in the Rugezi.
So far, the trees have been planted in 4 sites in Rugezi, as well as 5 other locations, including Umusambi village.
So it's in total of 86.5 hectares that we restored, using more than 80,000 indigenous trees that we produce from this nursery.
Nearly 214 acres restored and hundreds of people employed in the process.
We make sure that we also benefit people.
Each year they provide 600 community members temporary jobs at restoration sites, and they currently have 25 people in permanent jobs.
We have an approach saying that we don't plant a tree, we grow a tree, like you raise your baby and you take good care of it.
It's that passion to provide for people while caring for each individual tree that brings Cecilia joy.
I feel like proud of my work and see that I'm making like an effect or a change in the world and also for the future of our wildlife and also for people.
These kind of birds.
For the team we met at Umusambi Village, building a better future also includes inspiring the next generation to take action.
So far we have 9 clubs all over the country.
RWCA reaches even more youth through its mobile classroom.
We want to encourage hands-on learning. We think it's important for them to understand that even the smaller insects matter.
The education team's tools include a comic book.
And this is where we tell them the story of the superheroes who are Olivier and the rest of us that have worked so hard to protect the gray-crowned cranes. If we inspire them and make them part of the whole plan, they will do even more than we have done.
Instilling a love of wildlife in youth is an important part of the conservation mission. Another critical part, the medicine or health care for animals. Behind the scenes at the Houston Zoo, creatures of all sizes get state-of-the-art care. Thanks to the medical equipment the Houston Zoo brought to Rwanda, RWCA's vets now also have an advantage when it comes to delivering top-notch animal care.
Behind a gate at Umusambi Village sits a key part of RWCA's work that the Houston Zoo is making possible.
You want to show us around?
Yeah, I'd love to. So there's a couple of different rooms.
Dr. Christine gave us a tour of the new wildlife clinic.
And what you're seeing inside of this room are all of the cases of equipment that the Houston Zoo brought over. So we came in here first day, opened all the supplies with the crew. It was sort of like Christmas Day or a birthday, where every time you open it's like, yes, we have this piece of laboratory equipment. Yes, we have this X-ray machine. Yes, we have this microscope. Just an awesome feeling.
Having this lab here in Kigali, in Rwanda, how significant is it for conservation efforts?
It's a game changer. They are going to be the go-to resource for wildlife disease in Rwanda.
You have the hard patient because you have to wait for him to be still.
This training is very important for me and for our clinic as RWCA.
During our trip, they used every possible minute for training the RWCA veterinary team, including doctors Jessica and Pascal.
This is the small animal abdomen setting. So you can start to see liver up here. Toad livers tend to be really large, and then we've got his heart beating. Yes, yes, yes. You want to go first? Yeah. There you go, good. And then this down here, this is just the backbone, the spine.
After gaining some experience, the next patient was outside, ready to go.
Doesn't look like she likes me.
It can even bite you.
I don't want Motisi to bite me.
Motisi is a permanent resident of Umusambi Village. The cranes here get regular health checks.
I almost always start with the head of the animal.
In the clinic, they check Motisi's eyes and ears.
So take a look. That's the structure that is thought to provide nutrients to the eye. Great. Great. So the other things on the head of the bird that we can look at are the ear holes. So that's one of the hardest things to find. They're very little.
They listen to her breathing.
When you listen, you're going to hear this little click. And what that click is that she's moving her keel in and out. It doesn't mean she has crackles or any sort of problems with her lungs. That's just like a normal sound that sometimes happens. And then I listen underneath, and the heart sounds great. Yes, birds have very fast heart rates. Should we take a look at the wing next? You can look in these white feathers for ectoparasites, which looks good.
They got a blood sample and then wrapped up with an ultrasound.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good.
That's really nice.
Good, good. You got it.
Now you hit me.
He was giving you a high five,
Yeah.
but just to the face.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You got it. You got it. So you're seeing just a little glimpse of your liver here and your heart right up there. That's pretty good for a bird ultrasound.
The practice continued with x-rays on another bird who needed a more thorough health check. The Houston Zoo veterinary team walking them through every step.
Yep, and I'll turn the lights off so you can see. Awesome.
How many do you add?
0.6 mils.
The Rwandan vets learned a lot, but the in-person training also had an impact on the Houston Zoo team.
It's personally very meaningful because we've seen a lot of progress with the team over the last week. We've worked really long hours, many days in a row, getting everybody up to speed on x-ray equipment, ultrasound, laboratory work. They've gone from having just the desire to do all of those things to now having the full capacity to be independent to do those things on their own.
We no doubt will be able to continue helping them way stronger than we could have if we had never come. We could not do this without the support of our team, our whole team at the Houston Zoo, our veterinary clinic. We have all been a part of getting equipment for this team and preparing for this trip.
Their expertise is so strong. Their passion for this work is just unrivaled. They have the knowledge. They have the connection and the ability to teach. They have the willingness to spend this time and effort investing in our partners here.
For Dr. Jessica, who is the first female wildlife veterinarian in Rwanda, this is about much more than a job.
Yeah, it's really something like I'm happy with, because like in Rwanda, it's not easy for the girl to be a vet, and not only a vet, but a wildlife vet. So really, I'm proud of being a vet. I've grown up like having that dream, and I'm really happy that that comes true. Now I'm Dokita. I'm Dr. Jessica.
You're Dr. Jessica.
I just feel so proud of them. They've gone from having no clinic, no truck, no equipment to having all of those things.
We have everything. We have equipment. We have the skills. I'm ready just to perform everything I have learned from Houston Zoo team.
I know that they're going to do wonderful things and they are going to help save Rwandan wildlife in the wild.
I feel very proud to be wildlife vet.
Still ahead, how far one of the Houston Zoo's partners in Rwanda has come since we first met her in 2015.
So much joy here at the school.
But first, Rwanda was one of the first countries in the world to ban single-use plastic bags and bottles. By taking action to reduce your own plastic use, you can also help save wildlife like birds and sea turtles. Find more ways you can cut back on plastic use on click2houston.com/conservation. The North American Woodlands Aviary in Birds of the World is home to a variety of American songbirds. Most of these birds were confiscated from the illegal pet trade and not able to be released into the wild. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Houston Zoo work together to rehabilitate them and give them a safe home.
Learning about animals in our own backyard is an important step to protecting them.
And that's why the education side of conservation is the focus of another of the Houston Zoo's partners in Rwanda, which Andy first featured in 2015.
People paying to see the mountain gorillas is a huge part of the thriving tourism industry here in Rwanda. That's why people of all ages, including the kids here, are so invested in keeping these animals healthy. The children are part of a program called Conservation Heritage Turembe. Turembe means let us be sustainable.
Our message is about staying healthy.
Valerie Akuduredusenge grew up in Rwanda, working as a tour guide in the rainforests of Central Africa. She's now spreading her conservation message as program director of Conservation Heritage Turembe.
Valerie visited the Houston Zoo the year after Andy's first trip to Rwanda. In Houston, she received additional training and experiences to help her grow her organization.
On Andy's second trip to Africa, he was eager to see the progress she had made.
Valerie, come here. Hello.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Oh, long time.
You look wonderful. It's been 9 years.
I couldn't wait.
How have you been?
Great.
A warm greeting awaited us almost a decade after we were last in Rwanda with the Conservation Heritage Turembe team.
9 years. Yeah. I haven't seen you in 9 years.
I stayed tuned to KPRC all the time.
You stay tuned in the KPRC,
yeah, sure.
And we follow each other on social media.
Sure. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still there.
Yeah,
that's why we're here. All these familiar faces and everybody looks so wonderful. You've all done such a great job here. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Conservation Heritage Turembe was established in 2013. Their motto, healthy people, healthy wildlife.
Why me?
Their mission began with teaching children around Volcanoes National Park how to care for themselves and the environment.
You were in 3 schools back in 2015 when we first met. Here we are in 2024. You're now in 9 schools.
Yes, we are in 9 schools now. And that's thanks to the support we have from our government, from partners. That's why we have been really greatly changing.
That's zucchini.
Changing and expanding their reach.
I love zucchini.
We could see the fruits of their labor within moments of arriving.
In 1 month?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it grows fast.
A thriving vegetable garden supplies healthy food for CHT staff and community members who need it. Similar gardens are grown at schools where the children can take what they learn home to their families. The program keeps going and growing. The next day, we visited a school benefiting from Conservation Heritage Turembe's work. Students poured out of classrooms to welcome us with dancing and song.
Welcome visitors! Good study too! Welcome visitors! Good study too!
In the classroom, lessons keep the students engaged.
Volcanoes National Park. Have you heard about that? Yes. Okay, good. So Volcanoes National Park is a rainforest. The sentence is here, class. Can you read the sentence? Why do we need to protect mountain gorillas?
Because gorilla is important.
Because gorilla is important, very important. Why do we need to protect mountain gorillas? Yes?
Because mountain gorilla, it provides employment to the people.
They talk about drivers, porters, trackers, and gorilla doctors. On this day, Dr. Noelle visited the children.
This is what it's all about. This is what fills your spirit. There's so much joy here and such a passion to learn about conservation because they make it fun. There's singing, there's dancing, there's coloring. That's how you engage the next generation of conservationists. Your former students who are now adults, they remember every detail. How do you feel when you hear that?
To me, I feel so proud of hearing about that because, you know, education impact is not something that happens in minutes. It takes a long time to tell. What should we do to protect mountain gorillas?
Planting trees.
Yes, let's clap for him.
The Houston Zoo has supported conservation heritage Turembe since the beginning with things like funds, training, and help with grant writing. A year after we first featured Valerie and her work, she was named one of the Houston Zoo's wildlife warriors. The zoo's confidence in her has helped her expand even more. CHT now hosts camps and takes students into the park to see the animals. They train teachers to spread the conservation message. They donate seeds for gardens and even sheep to support families' livelihoods. And they're expanding their reach to children near the Rugezi Marsh to collaborate with the Rwanda Wildlife Conservation Association and teach about gray-crowned cranes.
It's exciting. We love it. Those kids around Rugezi Marshland, they are very sharp, and I like it when they dance like cranes.
Whatever the species, no matter the setting, the conservation conversation for CHT always starts with self-care and hygiene.
How many graduates do you have from the program? How many are there?
Yes, we have almost 10. Around 10,000 graduates outside. So look, those are people who are going to be advocating for CHT's work.
10,000, that's a huge number.
Yes, it's a huge number.
You've changed so many lives.
I did.
Still ahead, the Houston Zoo's partners in Rwanda look to the future.
From Valerie to Dr. Tara to Dr. Noelle to Dr. Olivier, they're all heroes, and wow, we couldn't be more proud.
First, you can be a wildlife hero by recycling paper, buying ocean-friendly seafood, and creating wildlife-friendly spaces. Find easy ways to take action starting today on click2houston.com/conservation. Almost a decade after KPRC's first trip to Rwanda with the Houston Zoo, it's been remarkable to see the conservation programs that have grown and to see new ones take flight. We've witnessed individual determination and meaningful collaboration.
And while there's still a lot of work to be done, the progress offers hope for the future and a reminder that everyone can make a difference.
Everything that we all do matters, and I think one of the most impactful things for me this week has been the power of one. The power of the individual, the power of one step in the right direction, of one change that you choose to make, and you look back 10 years later and you can't believe how far you've come.
Dr. Olivier, a shining example of the power of one. He recalled feeling overwhelmed when he first started working in the Rugezi marsh.
So I came here and I looked at this marsh from top of the hill and I said, I felt so small. And the place felt so big. And I was wondering, how can I know what's happening there? How can I know what's there? And I felt so small. 8 years after, we have people there and there, every corner of the marsh. And I feel like I'm everywhere. Whenever they are like walking, sending that doing campaign, I feel like I'm with them. I feel like I've grown over the 8 years. I've lost there, but I've grown big.
Each person we met, each in their own way, was making a big impact on wildlife as well as others.
Hey. Diane Fossey was your inspiration.
Yes.
Someday, some young girl who's involved in the program is going to say, Nadia was my inspiration. How does that make you feel?
Well, I feel like then I would have served my life purpose, which is being the change I want to see around me.
The Houston Zoo supports positive change through its programs abroad and at home.
I appreciate how we've got Houston Zoo as our training hub, because most of our staff members have traveled to Houston to be trained. So we see there as a home, and we see their members when they come here like we're an extended family.
I feel really fortunate that Gorilla Doctors has been chosen to partner with the Houston Zoo. We value the partnership tremendously.
While progress has been made over the last decade, hopes are even higher for the future for all of the Houston Zoo's partners in Rwanda.
Ultimately, we want to take this center, which has become a regional and international hub for education and research, and continue to expand it, and hopefully make Rwanda kind of a centerpiece of conservation education, not just in Rwanda, not just in Africa, but for the world.
What is your hope for the future?
What we have now with this laboratory and this facility is everything we need from an infrastructure standpoint to be doing the best possible medicine. So 5-10 years from now, I think everybody is going to know that Gorilla Doctors is the lead for Eastern gorilla health as that relates to their conservation.
Conservation Heritage Turembe celebrated its 10th anniversary last year.
Yes.
Where do you see the program 10 years from now?
Wow. I'm working towards reaching out to tripling the number of schools I'm working with today.
These partners are strong in and of themselves, but it's their collaboration. They're working together, their partnerships, where Dr. Noel is part of RWCA, or the Rwanda Wildlife Conservation Association, and Valerie is doing educational programs for RWCA and also for the Fossey Fund. Their friendships, their collaboration, their collegiality, it just makes for the most incredible partnerships here in Rwanda.
Where do you see things 10 years from now?
I think you are going to see the premier wildlife hospital in the country right here in Kigali. They are going to do wonderful things with all of the equipment that they now have, with all of the training that they've received this week. And we're going to continue training and talking about cases and working together. This isn't a drop off equipment and see you later. This is a part of our family.
One of the most amazing things, I think, is when you visit the Houston Zoo, when you're a donor, when you're a member, when you're a guest, when you're a volunteer, when you're a staff person, you're helping save animals around the world. And that's something to be proud of. Your visit makes you part of this amazing wildlife story. Your visit makes you part of saving animals in the wild. We couldn't do it without you.
Thank you for joining us for Saving Wildlife Return to Rwanda. You can see all the shows in our Saving Wildlife series on click2houston.com/conservation.
We hope you check them out, as well as come visit the wonderful Birds of the World habitat at the Houston Zoo.
And remember, every visit, every purchase here, you are supporting conservation efforts around the world and saving animals in the wild. Hello. Hi. Hello.
Hi. Roger, I hope you're getting the footage you need. I'm talking to Roger. I hope he likes it.
We're putting that in the special. You know that.
Doctor, how do you feel to have that camera in your hand?
It's okay.